Hey, what's up, everybody? Dr. Jeff Moore here, currently serving as the CEO of ICE. Hey, before you jump into today's show, I want to remind you to go over and check out Jane, the practice management software with a human touch. We've been using Jane over at Onward and cannot say enough about the incredible customer support and the overall quality of the product. It is clear Jane wants you to love using your EMR every day, and they've got free data transfers and they've got unlimited support with every subscription, so switching over to Jane could not be easier. If you're curious to learn more about how Jane could fit your practice, pop over to jane.app/physical therapy when you're done listening to this show today. If you know you're ready to sign up with Jane, use the promo code ICEPT1MO and you'll get a 1-month grace period to settle in, check things out, and get things rolling. Have an awesome day and enjoy the PT on Ice podcast.
Good morning, Facebook. I think we're live. That was about the best timing I've ever had. Facebook and Instagram both live as we speak. Oh, I was wrong. Now we're live on Facebook. So Instagram, Facebook are both up and going. Good morning, team. It's Friday. This is your PT on Ice Daily Show podcast. I am Joe Hanisco. I'll be your host today. I'm one of the new lead faculty members, actually, which is super exciting for me, of the clinical management, the fitness athlete team. So if I haven't had a chance to personally meet any of you guys, or a lot of you guys, I should say, I look forward to doing that in the next couple of months or a couple of years as we continue to push forward. And it's a new year right now, 2022. So things have been kind of slowing down towards the end of 2021, but we're going to pick it up nice and strong here moving into 2022. And that's across the board at ICE, and we're super stoked. I think it's going to be an awesome year for us. We're busy. We're filling courses up like crazy. It should all be positive here moving forward for us. So we're going to be chatting about bodybuilding and CrossFit today. So sort of I'd say a popular trend that we're seeing now in a lot of the programming and whatnot. So just talking about maybe some of the benefits or why this would be good for some of our CrossFit athletes to think about getting into some bodybuilding style workouts on some of their maybe on their off days or at the end of a session. So before we do that, though, let's go over some of the live courses, some of the online courses that we have coming up. Modern Management of the Older Adult is going to be crushing it in January. They're starting out strong. I think they're actually this weekend kicking it off up in Fenton, Michigan, so not too far from me here in Grand Rapids. Hopefully the weather doesn't get in the way. I think the snow has stopped. We got hammered over the last couple of days here, so we look like we're clear moving forward. But MMOA, Fenton, Michigan this weekend, and then they're hitting it off pretty much every weekend here going forward in January. They're going to Hendersonville, Tennessee. They'll be out in Pennsylvania and Iowa throughout the month of January, so look online if you're looking to get into that course. It's a fantastic course. If it's in your area, take a peek at those. And then Lumbar Spine is going out to East Coast down to South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina area. That is the 22nd and the 23rd of January as well. So January is starting out strong, and it's only building from there. COVID's coming back. It's making a surge right now, but it's going to be in our best efforts to kind of continue to help provide these courses to you all. We're willing to be flexible and work around it, but let's hope that doesn't get in our way. Online courses coming up. We have on the 11th, so this coming week, Injured Runner, the online management, the Injured Runner course online is coming with Jason and Megan. A fantastic course, newer in the 2021, I believe it was, or maybe it was 2020, but it hasn't been out too long, but they continue to build. I think it's a fantastic course. If you're treating runners, it's a must. You got to get in on that one. We have Advanced Concepts for CMFA coming in February. I think the start of that date is the 6th of February. Another fantastic course. Good way to kind of cap off the CMFA cert if you've already checked off your other boxes there, but if not, feel free to hop in on that either way. And then the 21st coming up in March, I think it was March actually, was the clinical care PT clinical care management course. Another fantastic kind of unique course there too. So we're getting after it, guys. It should be a nice busy start of 2022. So anytime you're looking for a course, ptonice.com, click on courses. They have live and online versions there. So let's move forward for today's podcast. Again, bodybuilding in CrossFit. That's kind of what we're going over. Really the why behind this and why I chose to talk about this is that we're just seeing it show up way more frequently in a lot of these mainstream programming. So if you look at Mayhem, CompTrain, hard work pays off. It doesn't matter what program we're talking about. At the end of these programs, like on the apps, you're starting to see at the bottom a lot of bodybuilding sessions. Not every day, but some of the good accessory drills to kind of tie into the mainstay for the training of that day. And I think there's some, obviously if the world's best athletes and programmers are putting it in, there's obviously good reason for it. But let's talk about maybe, at least in my opinion, and from a fitness, physical therapy perspective, performance perspective, what some of those benefits might be. So I tried to lay out the top three things that I think really tie into the bodybuilding and the purpose of the bodybuilding. So we'll get after it here. So the top one I put on my list, and I can't honestly say that the three things I have are any particular order, but we're going to start with hypertrophy. So clearly bodybuilding is built around hypertrophy, building larger muscle. A lot of times we're going to see these rep ranges in that moderate rep range, 8, 10, 12, maybe 15 reps. Some literature now showing just working towards failure is a good option. Picking moderate to moderately heavy weights, just cranking away on these reps, it does a really, really good job at stimulating tissue in a way that grows muscle. And with larger muscle and more muscle growth can lead to ultimately more power, and then hopefully in the CrossFit world you add muscle plus more strength, more power, better performance. And I'm not saying that CrossFit in itself can't lead to better performance with already the training that we're doing. I think this is just a nice, little bit more isolated way of seeking that out there. So ideally, obviously, the hypertrophy of muscle tissue, that's the whole purpose of the bodybuilding. I think that's one of the top things that we need to be throwing on our list. And this unique way of approaching it with the higher volume training is a fantastic way to get after that there. So I like the idea that a lot of the bodybuilding stuff is more truly isolated movements. We're talking here as compared to doing thrusters and wall balls and movements like that are very dynamic and multi-joint movements. We isolate stuff in bodybuilding. It leads to better hypertrophy when you can select a single muscle group and just work single or double joints. Bicep curls, bench press, bent over rows for the upper body stuff. You might throw some knee extension like box step ups or split squat stuff for the lower body there. But when we isolate this, it really gives that tissue the prime opportunity for you to focus on it and actually get high volume training without having to worry about major technique things that are sometimes more high skill in the CrossFit world there. So the isolation really allows that to be happening. And physiologically, outside of just the muscle tissue growth, you're getting that pump. We all talk about that with bodybuilding or any of our experiences with bodybuilding. We feel swole, we feel the pump. And really what's happening there is that we're getting fluid dynamics, blood flow and other interstitial fluids going in and out of the muscle cell. And with that dynamic transfer of fluid, we're bringing a lot of growth hormones and other things that are healthy for our tissue and allow that tissue to grow. And I can speak from experience that although, doing a workout like Fran leaves you feeling some type of way for sure, I think it's different than if you were to go hammer out a little superset of, some bench press with some tricep movements, maybe some dips in there or something, and all of a sudden your triceps, your pecs, your shoulders are just pumping full of that swole feeling. And I think that's really a nice way to help work on some of that tissue growth and just perform and move that muscle in a different way than we're used to seeing in the CrossFit world. So muscle growth, number one on the list. Hypertrophy, we're putting that up there for sure. Tied into that, I think in a unique way, is that I think a lot of times what I also see, so for our number two, we're going to number two now, is tendon health. So we got muscle growth and tendon health as number two. And in the CrossFit world, especially with my experience in treating a lot of these athletes, overworked tendons, and we can talk about the reason that may occur, whether it's just truly volume or if it's technique, but tendons that are irritable and irritated and inflamed are common. We get the elbow tendinopathies, the bicep tendinopathies, rotator cuff, patellar tendon, Achilles tendon, like you name it, these tendons are getting beat up sometimes during CrossFit. And again, I'll take this orthopedic injury any day over the chronic illness that we see elsewhere. But the tendon health idea behind bodybuilding, I think, is really awesome to kind of talk about as well. So when we get the opportunity to isolate with these bodybuilding movements, we can also then work on tempo, and adding some tempo or some controlled movements to these accessory bodybuilding exercises are fantastic for helping with pain and building strong, healthy tendons as well. So I think two big parts of those contractions, the isometric contraction and the eccentric contraction, are typically the ones that are showing up frequently in the literature, even though now a lot of things are just showing to adding all of them can be a healthy benefit too. But the idea that we can slow things down and not make it quite as explosive and dynamic as we normally see in the CrossFit world, I think it's fantastic for retraining and actually building good, strong, healthy tendons, or working your way out of an unhealthy tendon towards more of a healthy tendon. So take just something simple that we can visualize, like a bicep curl, and you could really change the way you do that bicep curl to really prioritize good healthy tendons. So starting at the bottom of that motion as you curl up into elbow flexion and hitting your end range, I'll sometimes have athletes get that really strong neuromuscular effect of that squeeze at the top of that bicep curl. So full elbow flexion, squeezing as if they still have more range to go, even if that elbow isn't flexing anymore, really creates a really strong end range bicep contraction. And then slowly lowering that thing back down, time under tension, can be fantastic for training that tendon. And we know already that isometrics are also fantastic for decreasing, analgesic pain effects in the body as well. So adding that combo together, increased strength, decreased pain, we're onto something here with this for sure. I think there's no doubt about it that the tendon health can be improved there. So you also get the opportunity to blend these thoughts together as well. That as we create that muscle pump, and we're bringing a lot of growth hormones and fluids into the tissues that are positive for muscle growth, plus the tendon health. I think you're really putting a 1-2 punch here that just gives us an opportunity to build bigger, stronger, more healthy tissues and tendons for sure. I think it's just a nice little combo there that I've been really taking time myself to do as I've kind of battled back and forth with dealing with, for me particularly, elbow pain, medial tendinopathy, and it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be an hour-long bodybuilding session. I'm taking 10-15 minutes, picking muscle groups at the end of the workout, and just trying to hammer out some of these movements and doing them relatively briskly, just to get them in for efficiency, but just doing them in a different way ultimately. So, number one, hypertrophy. Number two, tendon health. You could probably flip-flop those, like I said. I don't think there's any specific order to that, but the combination 1 + 2 I think really is what we're going to look for in terms of improving health of a tissue and ultimately showing what the purpose of this is moving forward with bodybuilding and CrossFit. The final point that I wanted to bring up was number 3, going to be just we bodybuild to look good and to have fun. If we go back to the roots of where a lot of us have entered the CrossFit spectrum, it was just in more of that traditional strength conditioning or bodybuilding world. I don't know how many of my buddies and I chat about bench pressing 1 or 2 times a week back in the day, and now in CrossFit for a while. I've been involved for 10 years now. It just bench press didn't show up. It wasn't a thing that was even coming across. Now you're starting to see it in some cases as part of the Metcon even, or part of a workout of the day. So we're seeing a transition, but whether or not it shows up in that Metcon, getting back to just what got you into strength conditioning and fitness in the first place is quite fun. We all enjoy a good pump session, a good maybe I'm not sure if this is a PC these days, but a bro sesh, as if it was only for the men. It's not. It's for the women as well. But we all enjoy those days where we can get out there and kind of just take our mind out of it and just move and do some of those things that really got us into fitness and a little bit more fun. So it's always something to talk about there. I think in the end of the day, that's what we're here for. I think allowing us to decrease intensity every now and then is fantastic. Just put my old CrossFit coach used to do not for time workouts, and we'd sometimes just dedicate a whole day for it, where we take the clock out of the equation. Besides just getting your work in that hour time gap, but just focusing on movement to move with purpose for sure, but without intensity every now and then is good. And don't get me wrong, I think the intensity reigns high above all else, but every now and then it's okay to step things back a little bit there. I think number 3 actually may be the most important in the entire list, and it's just good to get into the gym and to do something a little bit different every now and enjoy what you're doing there, and bring back some of those memories of what really got us into it in the first place there. So I think I can't claim to be a bodybuilding expert in any way. Most of my background prior to CrossFit was more in the true strength conditioning, athletic performance, Olympic weightlifting world. But if you have any specific questions, we're happy to answer these, and how you might be able to integrate this into your programming, whether it's as a CrossFit athlete, whether it's a patient's programming, and how bodybuilding might affect that. I am happy to answer those. And obviously Mitch Babcock that's his background. That's his wheelhouse. You can tell by the way he fills out that shirt and those biceps. There's no hiding it there. This kid's been around the block before. He's the guy to go to for sure. So, nice little simple, easy podcast today. Hopefully, get you thinking a little bit. If you haven't seen some of this bodybuilding show up in your programming in the CrossFit world, try to integrate it there. Or if you have seen it and you've kind of avoided it for whatever reason, it doesn't have to be done every day, but pick 1 or 2 days a week where maybe you get after a little bit. And if you haven't seen it at all, start to maybe think about how you can make that happen in some way, shape, or form. So remembering hypertrophy, remembering tendon health, and ultimately remembering that it's just for fun and it's great to look good and feel good while you're doing it. So, have a great start of the 2022. It's the first Fitness Athlete podcast of the year. I look forward to seeing you guys. Hopefully everybody's healthy. And picking good goals for the year. Go out and crush them, and we'll see you around the country and on the podcast. Thanks again for listening. We'll talk to you later.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.